Oh man.
Let me go to Big Head Joe's for you. They have the most insane burritos.
I don't much go for ethnic food.
No, trust me. They have one that's called the Meat Tornado. Literally killed a guy last year.
You had me at Meat Tornado.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Binging with Babish, and welcome to the new Binging with Babish kitchen, a sprawling 2-level garden apartment that I have retrofitted into the play place of my dreams. I'll be taking you guys on a proper tour of this space soon, so you can see all the new toys and tools that, as you can imagine, I want to keep safe. So it's fitting that this week's sponsor, Simply Safe, is helping me keep my new home secure. Simply Safe is an award-winning home security system with no contracts. It's also super easy to set up. It took me less than an hour to get mine up and running for the new house. Visit simplysafe.com/babish to learn more. Now, before we dig into the Meat Tornado, we must first go back in time to the old apartment, where I enlisted some help from an expert to ensure that this burrito could in fact kill a man. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. I understand that you are a doctor of nutrition.
Yes, I'm a medical doctor and I'm what they call a physician nutrition specialist. I'm recognized by the National Board of Physician Nutrition Specialists.
Well, it sounds like they could really use somebody like you in Pawnee, Indiana, because as I understand, it's a very unhealthy town.
Well, that's what the clip you showed me implies.
Yeah.
For sure.
According to legend of this burrito place in Pawnee, a gentleman was killed by a burrito referred to as the Meat Tornado.
Horrible way to go. Yeah, there actually are true cases of death by meat consumption, usually steak, and those are called cafe coronaries. Now, if it was in a Mexican restaurant, so that you wouldn't call that a cafe coronary. I guess you'd call that a cochina coronary, right?
Yeah, so you are a doctor of nutrition and humor, it would seem.
Well, trying to be a little humorous, but yeah, you could die from eating. So let's think about not just the meat, but the burrito is going to have spices in it, right? So if it was really hot, chili, that could, somebody who has existing coronary disease, then they could then induce a coronary. Yeah, that could happen.
So assume that there are no size limitations on this burrito. Can you think of just a rough idea of you have a patient that has heart issues, don't eat this much meat, or it could kill you where you sit?
I would say you're probably in that category, yeah, in the pounds worth of consumption.
All right, so I think maybe the benchmark I'm trying to hit is maybe like 2 pounds worth of meat.
All right, well, no. Wow.
I mean, as long as it kills them, that's my end game.
Yes, it could kill them.
All right, well, I'm gonna try to do this as true to form to what we've determined here, and we're gonna try to have this be a message of health, because you shouldn't eat things called a meat tornado, I don't think.
No, I think that's one to stay away from.
So, well, thank you so much for talking with me today, Doctor. I appreciate it, and thanks for saving lives. Armed with this lethal knowledge, I set out to make a 2-pound spicy bean and meat-filled burrito with a license to kill. First up, flank steak in a simple marinade of 1/4 cup each lemon juice, vegetable oil, soy sauce, and chicken stock. 1/2 teaspoon cayenne pepper, 1 tablespoon ground cumin, 1/4 cup of white sugar, 2 crushed cloves of garlic, and about 1 tablespoon each kosher salt and freshly ground black pepper. And because we're trying to be legit or authentic or whatever, a whole lot of fresh chopped cilantro. Tiny whisk until homogeneous, and then we're going to pour it over our flank steak to make a sort of carne asada. Remember that marinating your meat in a bowl or casserole helps prevent cross-contamination in the fridge. Once everybody's evenly bathed in the marinade, we're going to cover and fridge for about 4 hours, flipping once or twice throughout the process. Now on to the next meat of mention, carnitas, for which we're going to need a whole bone-in pork shoulder, which we must first debone, de-skin, and de-fat to some extent. Basically, we want want to scrape as much meat off the bone as possible, remove and reserve the skin if you want to make chicharrones, remove any excess fat, and cut the meat into 2-inch pieces, which we're going to cook in what some might call an irresponsible amount of lard. 2 pounds of the stuff, along with 1 cup of water, go into a large, wide, deep Dutch oven, which we're going to set over medium-high heat until the lard is completely melted, and then, slowly and carefully, we're going to add the pork to the party. In addition to the pork, we're going to add the juice and flesh of 2 large navel oranges, cut in half. Just squeeze them, drop them in, and bring this whole thing to a bare simmer. Once the simmer is reached, lower the heat to medium-low and maintain a bare simmer for about 2 hours. At first, the pork is going to braise, but then once all the water evaporates, it's going to start to effectively deep fry. After the first hour, we're going to fish out the orange rinds and replace them with half a large onion, roughly chopped, and 4 large cloves of garlic, crushed, 4 dried bay leaves, 2 sticks of cinnamon, a teaspoon of whole cumin seeds, and a tablespoon of Mexican oregano. This, as you can well imagine, is going to smell unbelievable, but we're not done. We're also adding a half cup each light Mexican beer and evaporated milk, which at first I thought was kind of odd, but as the pork simmered for an additional hour, it turned out to be awesome. All the milk proteins separated and adhered to the meat and began to brown gorgeously, leaving me with crispy on the outside, juicy on the inside, tender, flavorful carnitas, which I'm going to go ahead and fridge until we're ready to use because they're going to reheat beautifully right back in the oil. Next up, our chicken representative at the table is going to be tinga de pollo, a simple braised, spicy, saucy, shredded chicken, which we're going to make as juicy as possible by searing skin-on, bone-in chicken breasts, which is both going to protect the delicate meat, give us some nice flavor in the braise, and give us some nice fond on the bottom of the pot. Once the chicken has some color on both sides, we're setting it aside and dumping in 1 large onion, roughly chopped, and 2 cloves of garlic. We're just sauteing those for a few minutes, letting them pick up some color and letting them pick up all that good stuff on the bottom of the pot. Then we are deglazing with 1 cup of chicken stock, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, a 14-ounce can of crushed fire-roasted tomatoes, and 1 can of chipotle chilies in adobo sauce. We're also going to add 1 teaspoon each ground cumin and Mexican oregano. Bring the whole affair to a rolling simmer and drop the chicken breasts back in the hot tub, where they're going to braise for about 45 minutes until the chicken is nice and tender and cooked through, and so are the vegetables. Once everybody's nice and happy, we're going to pull the chicken breasts out and use an immersion blender to blend our vegetables and chilies into a smooth but still a little chunky sauce. Then once we've removed the chicken's bones and skin, we're going to shred it using 2 forks and return it and any accumulated juices back to the pan. Season with kosher salt, freshly ground pepper, and simmer for 10 or so minutes just to let those flavors get to know each other. Taste for seasoning, and then it's time to contend with the final fighter in our meat cage match. Our flank steak has finished marinating and is ready for the grill, or in this case, the plancha. Once we've removed some of the excess herbs and garlic so they do not burn, this guy's going to respond especially well to any super hot cooking surface. I'm going with some well-lubricated and thoroughly preheated cast iron. Once little wisps of smoke emerge from its surface, we lay down the steak and leave it undisturbed for about 5 minutes, until its first side has been emblazoned with a deep dark brown char. The sugar in the marinade is what helps give this steak its beautiful crust, and it is going to hang out in the oven while we prepare the final element of our burrito, the burrito, for which we're going to need 1 extra large tortilla. Into the bowl of the food processor goes 8.5 ounces of all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of kosher salt, and 2 ounces of refrigerator cold lard. Process together until it resembles coarse crumbs. And then we're going to slowly add 3/4 of a cup of cold water while the machine runs until a rough ball of dough forms, which we're going to knead on a lightly floured work surface until it feels smooth and elastic. Then we're going to wrap it in plastic wrap and let it rest at room temperature for about 15 minutes because its gluten needs to be very relaxed for what we're about to put it through. That's right, little ball of dough, you are not being used to make 8 to 12 separate tortillas. No. You are going to make 1 giant tortilla. First, we gotta preheat our paella pan, maybe practice our scoop technique. Also, we gotta make sure that it's preheated evenly since it's so much bigger than the flame. Once it's good and smoking hot, we're gonna lower the flame a little bit while we roll out our tortilla on a generously floured work surface. I was going for a tortilla with about the same diameter as my paella pan, which turned out to be my first of many mistakes. After gently unfurling it, much like a pie crust, I learned that it should indeed be slightly smaller than the paella pan, otherwise this is gonna happen. I tried my darndest to salvage this giant tortilla, but it also turned out to be very, very tender. And because I was focused on it tearing so easily, I forgot to help it cook evenly in the paella pan, so it ended up being burnt in the center, raw on the outsides, ripped, torn, and full of holes. But let me ask you this, Master Wayne. Why do we fall? Well, Alfred, it's so we can learn how to pick ourselves up. On my next try, I used only half the batch of dough, which I rolled out thinner and smaller. I also kneaded the dough twice as long so as to develop the gluten so it wouldn't be so delicate. Immediately after getting it in the pan, I tried to evenly disperse the heat so the tortilla would cook evenly, and rather than use a rolling pin, I'm not entirely sure why I did that, I used a pizza peel to flip the gargantuan tortilla. Cheers emanated through the kitchen as it was successfully flipped, and we could all see the burrito that it was to become. Once cooked, there was only one thing left to do: turn it into a meat delivery system. So back over on the worktop, we're going to start prepping our meat for burrito insertion. The flank steak is very important to slice thinly across the grain. If you slice it with the grain, you're going to end up chewing on shoestrings rather than meat. The carnitas, once reheated, need only be shredded or chopped into bite-sized pieces. They are one of the most delicious substances on planet Earth, and if there's one thing to make from this episode, it's them. Because as we established with Dr. Rothkopf, what we're about to do you should not attempt at home. The time has come to stack our tortilla proudly. Carne asada followed by carnitas. Then I'm laying down the cheese and topping with tinga de pollo so it melts more effectively. Some refried beans to help induce cafe coronary. And since we want this thing to be spicy, I can think of no better final topping than a few big glugs of the last dab I was given as a consolation prize for being on Hot Ones. And as you can see, I am not being sparing with this hot sauce that clocks in at more than 2 million Scoville units. Last but not least, we gotta make a burrito out of this thing, so I'm going to try my best to employ proper burrito rolling technique. Tuck in the sides, roll it over on itself, tuck in the bottom, carry the 7, and there you have it, folks, a slightly sloppy but nonetheless legitimate meat tornado. And I'm sorry you can't see the numbers on the scale, but it clocks in at 1 pound 15.8 ounces. So I'm comfortable with going ahead and calling this a 2-pounder. Before we can dig in, of course, we have to take a look at that cross-section. And unfortunately, I got a little excited and cut in too early, so the cheese wasn't fully melted yet, but I was still nothing short of ecstatic to dig in. And I'll tell you something, folks, it was blow your pants off delicious. It was something I would have made a valiant effort.
I'm so tired. I'm so tired.
Welcome, people of Earth. Today we're looking at aggressive weather. That's right, Mother Nature in all of her destructive glory. She is pissed at the state of the world, and not only will she destroy your house, she'll also confiscate your family trampoline just to be a dick to your kids. Bugger me sideways, that is a solid hailstorm. Do people not check the weather app in the morning? They thought a trip to the beach was a good idea? No. You wankers need a bigger brolly. Use the inflatable mattress as a shield. Surely that would protect you from the golf-sized fucking ice cubes pelting down. Budgie Smuggler's bloke is like, let's use someone else's towel as a shield. Unless it's made from vibranium, I think they're screwed. Where's Grandma? Oh, she's still swimming. What a beast. Inclement weather is not going to ruin her exercise. Actually, there she goes. She got out safe. Why won't any young people help her? Fucking young people. Yeah, this is Captain. I'd like to welcome you all to Hang On Sunny. Seattle, which is on your left. Oi, Timbo, did you lock up the building? I think so. Why? I'm just checking, because if you do not... Yeah? Oh, no. What? What happens? Hey, the roof blows away. That is a lot of tumbleweeds. I always thought tumbleweeds existed only in John Wayne movies. This is unsettling. Seeing them in a big gang, it's like a flock. No, a tangle. A tangle of tumbleweeds. Get out! Get out of there! Okay, we're in the clear. All good. Or are we? They're bloody flanking the car! They've read Sun Tzu's Art of War. Things I've learned today. I have an irrational fear of tumbleweeds. Oh, ducklings. This will calm me down. Wait, this video's about aggressive weather. I forgot! No! The winds have sent the little feathered fucks flying. They aren't ready to fly. Mum swoops in to save them, trying to round the little bastards up, but she gets fucked in the ass by the wind as well. They're stuck in the maelstrom. I can't watch. I can't. There's no outcome. I'm clicking away. Look at these wankers underestimating the off-road capabilities of their sedan. The driver was like, we can make it through. It's a reliable car. The bloke riding shotgun is trying to let more water in. Old mate in the back takes a swig of beer and calls Uber Eats. Fuck me, I can't think of a worse place to be in a storm than a boat in the middle of the ocean. Look at the size of these bloody waves. Come on, no regrets, maximum commitment. Let's go! We're through! Wait, no, there's always more waves. Yeah, there's always more waves. We're gonna need a much bigger windscreen wiper. Now, I know at first glance this weather doesn't look aggressive, but you need to keep scale in mind. To a rat floating on a flip-flop, rain this heavy looks like the bloody beach hailstorm. Also, go easy on the little bugger. He just watched the love of his life drown because there was definitely, absolutely no more space on that thong. Don't argue it. Oi, Angus, you said this would be relaxing. It's just a spot of bad weather. Spot of bad weather. We just nearly got taken out by a flying fucking trampoline. I play through it, mate. Play through. I hit my ball with a putter before and it flew halfway across the English Channel. Fuck this. I'm going to the pub. No, don't go to the pub. Come on, come back. No. Come on. No. Yes. I am sick of golf. Okay. I'm sick of you, Ian.
Oops.